Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale of a fateful trip. It started in this tiny port, aboard this tiny ship. Hello and welcome to another adventure on this planet Earth. I'm Mark Gilchrist, and this week we're going back to the United States of America. And we're going to take a boat ride up the entire eastern seaboard. Back in March of 2015, I sold my house in North Carolina. I had a few months before I had to show up for the Peace Corps. I got rid of everything I owned and drove to South Florida, sold my car, and bought a boat. And I cruised in that thing all the way from Fort Lauderdale up to Canada. While I was looking for a boat, I got online, got my captain's license, or something like that. Got a pretend license. This was not something I was ready to brag about, like, yep, gonna cruise this boat to Canada. Because people would naturally ask, do you know what the heck you're doing? And I would have to say, no. I think hubris was my pilot, and arrogance my first mate. Looked around for a good week. Plenty of boats down there. Finally settled on this one, 21 footer. Actually, a beautiful boat. So my biggest challenges throughout Florida were bottoming out and manatees. Other than that, it was just beautiful. Very slow going. You gotta go no wake, I think, through the whole state. One of the smartest things I did was bring my bicycle with me. It fit perfectly, wedged in between the gunnel and the passenger seat. Took it out on little excursions. I couldn't write your typical travel blog, but I had to write something. So I did a serial fiction piece, about 6 essays, called My Travels with Marley. It's kind of fun. You can see it on my website. I didn't even name my boat. I didn't feel like I'd earned that until I got stopped by the cops my very first morning. I even offered to show him my online license. He didn't ask. But after he got on the radio for about 5-10 minutes, he said, I ran the number on this boat through our statewide computers. They think it's a stolen gun. And I said, wow, you just named my boat. Now my trip was only part of what is an incredible adventure for thousands of people every year called the Great Loop. They basically get in a boat and sail around the eastern part of the U.S. It takes about a year, so here's what you do. In the spring, you start in Florida, and you head up north through the Intracoastal. You want to reach New York and the Hudson River and the canals by summer and get into the Great Lakes, and you sail around the Great Lakes for the summer. What a blast. Okay, as fall arrives, you start heading south, this time down the Mississippi or the Missouri River. But by the end of fall, you'll end up in the Gulf of Mexico, and you spend the winter cruising around Florida. Who would imagine that there is a river going along the entire eastern seaboard of the United States? It's called the Intracoastal. Much of it was dredged out around the early 1800s. Many Americans don't even know it exists. It just seems so odd that you could start in Miami, barely go out in the ocean, all the way up until New York City. You know, there's just something about a boat, really. America, well, all countries tend to build their cities around water. So if you're going by boat, you're kind of getting a backstage view. You don't go over bridges, you go under them. You don't stand on the shore, you cruise by the shore. Whole different perspective on life. One thing I enjoyed throughout the route was museums. There's a lot of maritime museums all up and down the coast. On the water, there are some companies similar to AAA on the road. One is called Sea Tow. I used them once in the Carolinas. I pulled up on a sandbar and the water had gone out just enough. Sea Tow came along, unstuck me. My 21 footer was kind of small even for just one person. My mileage was not good. My biggest expense was fuel, at least $1 more at the marinas. For navigation, just buy a tablet and get the app. And there are guides. Yeah, there's plenty of information online. Right here in South Carolina, the Blue Angels were practicing for an upcoming show, and I got a sneak peek. Up in North Carolina, I stayed with my brother for a few days. Gave my boat a 1,000-mile checkup. It was kind of an ultimate wanderer. Didn't have to worry about hotels, find a place to anchor, relax for a couple hours, hit the hay, start all over again in the morning. When things got too hot, I'd just toss an anchor and go for a swim. had a fascination for lighthouses. A lot of them aren't really in use anymore, but they sure are beautiful. Brick structures out in the middle of nowhere. In New Jersey, I hit some incredible fog. One afternoon, I anchored in this little inlet, could not see anything. I had to get there completely by GPS. As soon as night fell, they turned the lights on for the casino. What a surprise. I entered New York Harbor. What a beautiful sight. As soon as I got into the harbor, first thing I did was circle the island. I've been to New York City by bus, by truck, by car, by motorcycle, by small airplane, and I've been around it on a boat. But my favorite way was by bicycle. You don't have to worry about parking, and it's fast. I docked the boat at a slip in New Jersey because it was, what, half the price in New York, and I rode my bike over the George Washington Bridge, which is great fun. Ride through Central Park. I had no problem on a bicycle. I did not feel in danger at all. I lost count of how many bridges I went under. Some of the prettiest ones were in Florida, but there are some beautiful bridges around New York. In New York City, man, I was just dazzled by the new park called the High Line, and I recommend anyone who goes there definitely visits this one. It's incredible. So once you get up into the Hudson, that's where the fun begins. You're changing in elevation dramatically, going along the canals and up and down these locks. That is a fascinating thing. It can get kind of creepy, to be honest, especially on a small boat. I went along the Hudson up into Canada and dipped my bow into the Canadian waters. Thing about cruising in a boat, not like a car where you just go straight ahead. It's kind of a little bit of stress every minute. Want to keep your speed just right, worrying about things under the water you might hit, making sure you're not getting lost, not heading for real danger. It can be stressful, and it keeps you alert. It kind of keeps you responsible. That's kind of nice too. This was a whole new learning curve for me, and it was fun. Learning about anchors and cruising. It's not real easy. You don't have a dotted line to cruise down. Navigation, the radio, learning about weather. It just throws you into a whole different world. All new and all different experiences. How to dock the boat, how to conduct yourself in a marina. And another cool thing about cruising on a boat is you get to act like a boat person and use all kinds of nautical terms and tie fancy knots. This was one of my favorite ones, the way to properly tie yourself to a dock. Yeah, if I had it to do all over again, I definitely wouldn't do it alone. First of all, there's so much to do that it really helps to have two people. And second, it's just so many new, fascinating, interesting, wonderful, beautiful things to see every minute of every day that it really would have been nice to be able to share those with somebody. Yeah, at the beginning I was really timid because I had no experience and felt pretty foolish going on this trip. But by the end, when I got up into the Hudson, I was bragging. Yeah, took this thing all the way from Florida. Then when I got up to Burlington, Vermont, my friend Donald, he bought a trailer for me, drove all the way out there and picked me up, took me home, just in time to join the Peace Corps. Well, going up the Intracoastal or even the Great Loop is definitely a trip of a lifetime. And I hope that every American can someday have the opportunity to take their trip of a lifetime. Well, thanks for hanging. I hope you enjoyed my latest adventure. I'm Mark Gilchrist, and I am, and you are, we all are, on this planet Earth.